Let's jam.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me is a returning good brother to the temple. Previously here for plenty of episodes when it came to Spheres of Power, now for Deposition of Godhead, the Divine
Yeah.
Orthodoxy,
Mm-hmm.
the one and only SquidBaron.
Good to be back.
How you doing today, man? Or tonight,
Pretty
technically.
well. This is something of a busy week for me, but I am very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be discussing this book. And honestly, it has been a massive undertaking to finally get this thing finished. Deposition of Godhead was, if any of you, followed the ArcForge Kickstarter that, was discussed on here about a year back, that it was mentioned as the final stretch goal for this project that I would be going into. And there was a lot that ended up changing since then, but I am very happy to announce that the first volume of what is now going to be a multi-book series is now available for everyone on Pathfinder Infinite. We're trying to get a print version up soon, so be on the lookout for that.
Yep, I can certainly get that. Now, I'm trying to remember because it has been quite a while since ArcForge, but I think what surprised me is going from a more standard D20 approach to Pathfinder 2E. I think this is one of the first times that I've really had the chance to delve into a Pathfinder 2E adjacent project in this series, which is astonishing given the hundreds of interviews I've done over the last 5 years.
Yeah. This is actually a bit of a relatively new frontier for myself as well. This is the second book that I have ever written for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the first one that I've done for Pathfinder Infinite, and compared to the more or less 5-page folio that I made back when Pathfinder 2E was brand spanking new, this is a very different project.
Oh yeah, I can certainly get that.
Yep.
What made you want to venture over into Pathfinder 2E?
Well, the big thing that triggered it was the fact that I can't exactly write this for 1E due to the nature of the Pathfinder Infinite license. This is a book that is specifically about Galarion, about the design philosophies and processes that have permeated Galarion since the days of Pathfinder 1E, and how many of them have either grown or not grown since. This was a book that was really lore first in what it was doing, and the mechanics kind of came secondary to that, but I was rather proud of the two archetypes that I ended up making for this, the Beyonder and the Silencer.
Oh yeah, and we will get to that, but I think the fact that you put so much focus on Galarion is an interesting part because when I remember when Savage Pathfinder came out, and I had half-jokingly said, now a bunch of Pathfinder players can't pretend that Pathfinder doesn't have a setting, so they can shoehorn in their own settings. Which I was half joking about, but there is an issue I've noticed of with a lot of Pathfinder campaigns I see being played, unless they're playing an adventure path, a lot of people end up skimming out on Galarion, which is a damn shame, I think.
Yeah. I'm sort of the opposite perspective. Pathfinder Society has given a lot of space for adventures, and like a lot of folks, yeah, the sheer number of adventures that come out for Pathfinder that are actually considered part of the lore, that is a good reason for people to actually engage with the setting. And also, compared to many other settings that I've seen, like the sheer variety of splat books that Paizo has put out over the years means that there is a good deal of support for people running their own games in areas that the APs don't cover.
Yeah. So, since you're venturing into Pathfinder 2e with this, I would like to get your impressions jumping from 1e to 2e in terms of how some of the classes work, and this will eventually lead into the expansions that you've put in with the Beyonders and the Silencers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I'm just gonna go from now. Obviously, I'm only gonna cover. Well, I'll cover some more than others because I'm not expecting you to have encyclopedic knowledge of all of the classes because there were, especially when we bring archetypes into the mix. God no. But
honestly, I was just about to start singing my praises for archetypes because
I love archetypes as much as the next guy, but it's more of if we go through those, we'll be here for days.
yeah.
But like, what was your impression of, say, the Alchemist going from 1e to 2e?
Actually, one of my first I was actually playing an Alchemist, in the beta version of Pathfinder 2e. And even though it does seem to have some issues with power, I do really like that it interfaces with the crafting system of 2e much more organically than the sort of tacked on extracts that defined the class in 1e. Don't get me wrong, Alchemist in 1e was an absolute blast to play, but...
Literally?
Yeah, oftentimes literally. But the level of, like... the required understanding to, like, actually figure out both the mundane alchemical items and the whole separate system of extracts, which aren't quite spells and have a lot of very niche interactions to them. It made the class tricky for me to understand initially, which was a problem because it was the first class that drew me to Pathfinder in the first place.
Oh. Yeah. And so, Barbarian.
That one was another one that stuck out to me. That one was very much iterating on a lot of the ideas that began in first edition, but took on a new life to them.
Which is fair.
But I am not the person to talk to when it comes to doing mechanical deep dives on a lot of these classes. I would be more than happy to introduce you to some of the other designers who have worked on 2e, or heck, any of my players who have written guides or heck, entire Pathfinder Infinite books dedicated specifically to exploring the space with individual classes.
Yeah. The main reason I'm asking you on this is just your impressions going from one book to the other. Since
it does feel like the tempo of gameplay is very different. Maybe that's due to the fact that I've been mostly running and playing adventures that are designed for conventions and haven't really done anything with a larger scale adventure path in 2e, but the moment-to-moment decision-making and the tactical impetus with how 2e is designed creates a very different party dynamic compared to a lot of the very preparation-based strategies that were common in 1e.
Oh yeah. And
yeah,
I am curious because Pathfinder places a lot of emphasis on feats and degree of proficiency. And I am curious if that was a bit of an adjustment period for you, or if it wasn't.
I mean, like, you're talking to the guy who has designed a lot of stuff for spheres. Like, having a whole bunch of knobs to tweak with your character is something that I very much like in my games, and I'm happy that 2E normalized the knobs for everyone
Mm-hmm.
else rather than like having each class have its own specific progression system of unique quirky abilities to flesh it out. Here it's like everyone gets class feats at the same rate, everyone can trade them out in the same ways, and it just feels so much tidier.
Yeah.
Than the oftentimes convoluted process of, wait, which level do I get investigator discoveries again?
I look at it as an evolution of something that was being phased out, but by the time we shift from AD&D to D&D 3rd edition, and that is characters being built around a long-term campaign and balancing around that versus balancing around individual levels. Now, granted, 3rd edition didn't exactly succeed in that, given the vast power difference between casters and non-casters and everything that happened with feats back then. But the direction was certainly there. It's just that games like Pathfinder 2E were significantly tighter on that, and I'd also say Tales of the Valiant is a little bit tighter on that as well, in part because of the fact that everybody gets their subclasses at the same time.
Yeah. I have not played Tales of the Valiant, so I can't comment there.
I have. You know how in base 5e, some classes get their subclass right out the gate, some at 2nd or 3rd?
And then they changed that in 5.5, and it created a lot of scub. Yes.
It created a lot of scub, but the scub well was poisoned years ago during that whole incident.
Yeah. I was there. You don't need to remind me.
I was there too. I was on Zoom calls at least 3 times a day for about 2 weeks.
I was in the position of having to explain what exactly the open gaming license was to a whole bunch of people who had just started with 5e.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. For me, it was trying to calm people down who were going through panic attacks over the whole thing.
Oh my gosh! Like it was a very stressful time for me as a designer, especially since ArcForge was still in development at that time.
Oh yeah, that's why I said I was in Zoom calls with people, multiple times a day.
Boy.
But, and I'd say another part of that whole unification concept is the emphasis on an action point setup rather than having main actions, sub actions, bonus actions, swift actions, move actions. You get the idea.
Well, this was actually, fun fact, floated in a Pathfinder 1st edition book, Pathfinder Unchained, if you're familiar with that one.
I am. I liked Unchained. It's just a shame that Unchained's changes didn't get as much support as they probably should have.
Yeah, well, I use quite a few of them as defaults, but yeah, I guess the 3-action system there was too much of a jump and had just too much gray area to really stick. Pathfinder 2E has built their game around the 3-action system from the ground up. And like I said, I love the tempo that it puts into combat.
Yeah,
it feels like each character has more to do on their turn, or at the very least has a feeling that every decision they make on their turn carries weight.
Especially given that Oh, if you're locked in melee, getting a move action isn't really going to do much for you.
Yeah.
So that's a whole part of the action
I
economy
mean,
that's just
granted, yeah, there
wasted.
are still times where it does descend into slugfests, but
Hmm.
like
But
just the
that's
fact
gonna
that you
happen
have
regardless.
access to a full gamut of combat maneuvers now, and like it gives martial characters
Yeah.
the ability to test different vulnerabilities of opponents
If there's
in a
one
way
thing I
that
don't miss from early
didn't exist
games,
back in the
it
day.
is um the basic attack and nothing else for your adventuring career as a martial character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, I know some try and justify it with the whole, but you've got multiple attacks, and like it's still basic attack. If you
Yeah.
put regardless of which kind of lipstick you put on a pig, it's still a pig.
Yeah. Give me choices, darn it.
Hmm. I remember when the result when Tome of Battle came out and actually gave choices, and you had the crowd that was very contentious about it. And
Yeah.
then I learned that contention was not a new thing. This was a thing that was going all the way back to some early playtests where caster characters would throw a fit if marshals got anything interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, it's history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
Yeah.
But I think one of the getting back to it, what about the pantheons of Galarian made you want to focus on that for this particular series?
Well, the big thing that stuck in my mind with the beginning of it was noticing that there were a lot of very hard-coded assumptions about divinity in the Galarian setting. There were a lot of things that were presented as universal to all churches, or at least most churches. There were a lot of details that were ingrained across many different faiths that felt like some very aggressive generalizing of Catholicism in particular to how all religions either do work or should work. This included things like the belief, like a strict doctrinal orthodoxy that needed to be punished by inquisitions to stop heresy or deviance from spreading, or the belief that like there is a singular doctrine that is directly molded by those in power at the church that all members are expected to abide by without any sort of room for contention.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the big things that got me thinking about this in the first place.
Yeah, which
As yeah, and also the third that came to my mind is the aggressive emphasis on evangelization as well the most normal thing that a character can be expected to do as an adventuring member of the clergy.
mm-hmm. which the funny thing about that is I I do remember convincing a GM that I had a long time ago to let my monk be able to use divine spells because sometimes monks have to act as stand-ins for priests for rites when there isn't a priest available.
I mean, there is precedent for that, and
Hmm.
yeah, monks straight up could cast cleric spells in first edition D&D.
Mm-hmm. Uh, we bet the matter on a coin toss. I ended up winning the coin toss. I didn't tell him that the coin that I used was rigged, though. He was like, "You got a quarter?" I'm like, "All right, I have a coin." I just didn't tell him that the coin had two heads, and that was what I picked.
If yeah, To be fair, there are probably worse reasons out there for justifying a ruling.
Well, he decided because we had come to an impasse. He was like, "Well, let's let Chance decide." And I decided I was going to, since he didn't use his own coin, I was going to have some fun. So I did.
Yeah. How long did that charade last?
Um, at the end of the campaign, I told him, "Hey, remember that coin you had me flip? Yeah, that was a rigged coin." He stared daggers at me for about 3 days. anytime anytime we were in the same room, and he didn't punish me afterwards because he realized, yeah, it's on me. I'm the one who took the bait.
Yeah, what that reminds me of was I kind of had the inverse happen in a long-running campaign that I did a few years ago, where one of the players really liked the aesthetic of like giving his wizard a mechanical arm because he built himself as sort of a craftsman-focused character.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, he just kept taking stupid risks that would involve him losing his arm if they went wrong. And miraculously, he rolled well enough every time that he kept his arm through the whole campaign.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody was checking his dice to see if they were loaded or anything like that. But sometimes it's not.
No, because this guy wanted to fail, and he just kept succeeding.
Like the dice gods are. That's the
The
problem.
dice gods wanted to keep his body intact.
Yeah, that's the problem. If the dice gods are looking at what you don't want, and that's what they're going to do. And I've mentioned before, they are universal in their love for screwing people over. Oh, you want to fail this roll? Too bad, you're going to succeed. Oh, you wanted to just have a normal success? Too bad, you're going to get a crit.
Yep.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't asked to bless people's dice at least once. Because they felt that they were rolling nothing but garbage, so they're like, maybe my dice are cursed.
Yeah. Actually, I had sort of a case where, like, one of the players asked me to switch dice during a particularly lethal encounter because he didn't want to get hit anymore.
Well, was he like a lightning rod for getting hit or something?
Oh gosh, he had taken a beating up until that. Actually, the whole party had taken a beating up until that point, and oh god, like the turn after he asked me to switch dice, he gets crit.
Well,
so apparently the new dice didn't like him either.
Sometimes the dice gods just have an attitude of fuck that guy in particular.
Yeah.
But now, when it comes to the approach that you're taking with the orthodoxy, it sounds like a bit of it is trying to lean into the long history of disputes, we'll call it that, between different sects of different churches throughout history. Is that kind of the energy you're trying to bring with this?
Not exactly. This is, in many ways, based on sort of the aversion that Pathfinder seems to have to that. I remember in Chronicle of Legends, I believe the book was called, clerics straight up got a high-level ability where they gained perfect doctrinal knowledge. In that, like, they could literally ask their god about any given dispute, and the god would be expected to straight up give the cleric an exact answer on any sort of religious matter.
Divine rules lawyering.
Yes, divine rules lawyering, which I find particularly funny because,
surprise, motherfucker.
like, you look at the history of church schisms and, like, there is, like, a lot of contradiction between, even within holy texts that leads to social division when coupled with many different, like, factional differences.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Pathfinder's setting doesn't have that is a little, more than a little peculiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of got me thinking about how, if you're going to take out the possibility of schism or division that makes, like, religion a matter of questioning in real life, then what exactly are the gods at this point? If they have one interpretation that they are vehement about everyone who worships them following, if their edicts and anathemas are 100% universal, and again, like, I have issues with the whole idea of churches being built around specific edicts and anathemas in the first place, then what exactly is a god in this setting?
Mm-hmm. And especially when, unlike, real world religions, it's not, you have whole spells and whole magic systems built around divine communication or or divine communion. It's not a case of is my God answering my prayers. It's a case of, oh, they definitely are. It's a matter of how much of an answer am I getting?
Yeah. And yeah, there is definitely a lot of different authors from different religious traditions have built on this over the decades of RPG's existence.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally there are a lot of different interpretations, but the fact that Pathfinder combines detailed lore with a very specific interpretation of how gods and their churches are expected to operate creates a unique and rather concerning construct of divinity that, well, I wrote the Divine Orthodoxy to directly spell out and confront.
Mm-hmm. And that sort of directness of edicts and anathemas and the like.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd see. You certainly don't see that lack of schism among, say, wizards or druids.
I mean, the funny thing is, they straight up started giving wizard schools edicts and anathemas in Magical Academy. Write down specific edicts and anathemas would be a bit of a messy endeavor. Like, you can point to dietary restrictions, observance restrictions, clothing restrictions, but, like, there are always going to be sizable exceptions to any of those.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, there's also the other element where, like, those factors can be shaped by the specific needs of the community rather than the direct decree of a deity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can certainly see that.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the Beyonders and Silencers,
Yeah.
what exactly is their particular playstyle? What are they bringing to the table?
The Silencer was the first one that I came up with, and there is, if you're familiar with the Anaphexia Silencer from Arcforge, this is a 2e adaptation of that prestige class.
Would you mind going into the skinny for people who have not seen that interview I did about Arcforge?
I'm not sure how much I brought up the Anaphexia Silencer, but basically it was a prestige class for any divine spellcaster that had a lot of abilities for merging the faiths of different gods, as well as for hiding information about said faiths.
Mm-hmm.
The silencer in 2e provides a lore context for why particular deities might be doing this, and it goes into the shared desire for control that a lot of the Galarian gods exhibit by making characters that are essentially secret devotees of multiple gods, but who can't admit that because of the mandated atomization of their faiths. The gods of Galarion want themselves to be viewed as incompatible with each other, even as they repeat many of the same concepts about doctrine.
Would it be fair to say it's not far removed from like a double agent in a spy fiction setting of somebody who's playing multiple sides?
Perhaps? They are playing multiple sides, but at the same time, like, they are more mortal agents of a broader divine plan that wants multiple sides to be perceived. Like, for example, one of the characters that I think the first silencer that I introduced in one of my games was a disciple of, it belongs to the churches of both Pharasma and Norgber. The god of the god of birth and death, and the god of espionage and assassination.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they were involved with both was for political reasons. The church wanted a power transfer, and in order to maintain control of that, in order to keep the Church of Pharasma away from the limelight of several crimes, they had the Church of Norgabor take the fall for them, become the new heads of this church, and essentially like act as the fall guys while still having a loyal agent and loyal dedicate of Pharasma as their leader.
In that case, sounds like the church equivalent of the Scorpions in L5R.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fanatically loyal backstabbers.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the history of the Catholic Church in particular has a lot of that sort of skullduggery. And
you may as well just call it the Roman handshake. You know,
might as well.
Shake with the left hand, stab with the right, or vice versa.
Yeah. There's a lot there with and yeah, part of the reason why I introduced the anaphexia and the broader idea of the conspiracy among the gods of Galarion was to bring in that level of intrigue that I felt the like absolute dominion of deities has taken away. Here, like, there is like a lot of church infighting and a lot of church questioning because the gods themselves they play the role of like the head of the church, which is why I call them pontiffs in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, their position is precarious, and as a result, they need to utilize deception and manipulation in order to corral the faith.
And probably curtail anybody getting any ideas from having them fall down a
as soon as people like start thinking that the gods are fallible, that could cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
The specific character that I chose to narrate this book is deeply entwined with that. Windless has not shown up in too many books, but he is the Imperial Lord of proper doctrine and of proper doctrine and observance. He's the guy who sets the rules for how the gods are supposed to be worshipped and who keeps the records of the specific appropriate observances that each deity allows.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I knew that I wanted to actually get into some questions about why are suddenly, like, every deity, or at the very least every good deity, like, so persnickety about people not getting the specifics of a specific ritual wrong.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And to that end, would it be fair to say that when it comes to silencers, for people who aren't familiar with with their predecessor in Arcforge and how it played, what would be the elevator pitch you'd give to somebody who's only played Pathfinder 2e to them?
Yeah, the Silencer has two main signature gimmicks. The first one is the ability to combine class abilities from two different gods. Like, in Pathfinder 2e, as you know, like, every god has like their own exclusive spells, their own special weapon, and like and a few other specific things that only they have access to.
Mm-hmm.
Silencer is an archetype that would allow you to build a character that combines those mechanics from multiple different gods. So that already opens up a massive set of potential character options. But the other part of it is the fact that they are charged by the gods to maintain the alliance between faiths and keep it secret. And that gives me led to some very fun abilities that I came up with. The most interesting one is one of the high level ones lets them hijack any summoning spell that is cast by a divine caster by essentially saying that we will take it from here, we are pulling rank, and your summons work for us now.
Mm-hmm.
But the other nasty ability that they kind of became that I had fun writing is one that allows people to either like convert or to like make a pledge of secrecy in order to be protected from an area spell. Like, you can fireball a region, and anyone who swears loyalty to you would be auto-succeeding on their save, while those who remain disloyal would be fried.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. This was an ability exclusive to Asmodeus to Clerics of Asmodeus back in First Edition, but even the name, which is a kind of a 20-year-old political reference, let the gods sort them out, matches some real life war doctrine.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone shouts out "Cry Havoc" in the process.
Yeah.
Oh.
The other element was memory manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
They have several abilities that allow you to erase the memory of those that you that you either kill or reduce to unconsciousness, and interfere with the capacity for other people to grab information from their bodies.
Which definitely fits the espionage angle you're going for.
Yeah, this is very much like a clandestine church operations type of archetype. Good for a lot of different fun characters.
Since we're dealing with that sort of clandestine approach and memory manipulation, I would be very disappointed if somebody didn't make a Men in Black joke in a session at least once.
Oh boy, I have not had that happen in playtests of the class, but I absolutely imagine that some players would do that.
Oh.
Yeah, being able to just neuralize your opponents could be.
Remember, it's not just the neuralizing, it's also the you didn't see what you thought you saw, what you actually saw was this.
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember a particularly nasty spell in Exalted where you could tell someone a secret, but if they told anyone, they would start losing their lunch trying to say it.
Oh. I thought it goes back to Howl's Moving Castle because, like, that was the first time I ever saw that trope.
Yeah. Oh. Pretty much. It may not seem like much, but imagine saying that in polite conversation and then all of a sudden you start having a reverse gears moment.
Yeesh.
Or if you're doing it at a very, very important meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, when it comes to the Beyonders, what's the approach you're taking with that? And I'd like you to expand on the idea of contraband gods.
Is that they are they are involved in a religion that is innately unorthodox. They are tied to some kind of god that is not a part of the structures of orthodoxy and of anathemas and edicts that the gods of Galarian keep. And so as a result, their powers are kind of scrambled when they're on Galarian.
When we say scrambled, are we thinking something like wild magic, where you cast a spell but something interesting might happen?
More scrambled as in, like, trying to channel directly any manner of divine power results in an error. Many of the Beyonders' abilities are tied to having them inflict psychic damage with their cure or harm spells. This is kind of the result of they are trying to call upon some manner of divinity that is outside the scope of Galarian, and as a result, the interference that the Orthodoxy has propped up in order to prevent the intercession of such beings results in your powers just being unstable, mind-rending horrors.
I don't know why, but I have this visual of someone messing with a record player needle.
Mm-hmm.
And just
honestly, that'd be accurate.
All of the scratching, the sounds are natural, but the way they're arranged is not right.
Yes.
It's definitely something that would fall into a more surrealist approach to supernatural power.
Yeah. And this can be taken by either clerics or champions.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some unique rules for how these sorts of disturbances, rending font, as the ability is called, affect smite.
Yeah. So
the other half... Oh, go on.
Is it a case where if they try to heal, they end up doing psychic damage?
They have the... Yeah, like, my idea is is more that, like, if they are trying to heal people, then it works fine, but if they're trying to use that sort of power offensively, that's when it gets funky.
Mm-hmm. Which, that'd be fine, because if they specialize in this kind of thing and then all of a sudden they can't heal properly, that would create problems.
Archetypes that take away abilities are not something that I want to use that often.
Mm-hmm.
There is a place for them, but this is not that place.
Yeah, and I'd imagine the approach you'd want to take is, if you're going to be taking away abilities, then replace them with something that's in the same ballpark as that ability, but leans into the archetype.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other half of the archetype is stuff for concealing the fact that you're worshiping a unorthodox or unwelcome deity.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing I'm guessing you make clear that unorthodox does not necessarily mean that that you're worshiping an evil deity.
Absolutely not. Honestly, there are a lot of good deities that aren't welcome on Galarion for reasons that I go into on the lore of the book. Torag in particular has a massive beef with a certain deity that, well, I never explicitly say it. It's implied to be a lawful good god from another setting.
Mm-hmm. But it also sounds like a contraband god or an unorthodox belief isn't necessarily outsiders either.
Not necessarily. It could well be anything, and I intentionally kept the parameters of what a Beyonder's patron could be very vague.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to have your character be oh, I'm a worshiper of Corellon or Lorathian who has come to Galarion to help reunite with the elven people of this world, then the Beyonder would let you do that.
Mm-hmm. So, given that, do you have advice that you give out if you have a situation where you have somebody who's, say, a Beyonder, but in the same party you also have a cleric?
Well, that very much depends on how much information the Beyonder player wants to share about the true nature of their god. A lot of the material that I go into in Deposition of Godhead is not common knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The lore that I explain is, well, made pretty clear from the beginning, not meant to be seen by mortal eyes. And a lot of deities are trying their darndest to make sure that people do not see and do not understand a lot of the heavier theological implications that are spoken by this book.
That certainly makes sense.
Yeah. So I imagine if a Beyonder character and a conventional cleric or champion character are in the same party, there wouldn't be much friction between them unless the DM wanted to make that a big deal as part of the campaign. And there could be a lot of intrigue there.
Mm-hmm. And with that, now on the other end of the spectrum, what if you have a situation where you have a silencer and any other divine caster?
Chances are, well, the fact that silencers are enmeshed in the existing faiths of Galarion is an intentional feature. Silencers do worship the same god, do worship the gods of Galarion. They have alliances to maintain. They have their own personal convictions beyond their deity, their multiple deities' commands. And as a result, I imagine that they would probably get along well as just a particularly sneaky or particularly manipulative member of any given congregation.
If you look close, there are 3 silencers behind me.
Yep. That happens.
Although that would be a fun bit of chaos to put in, of having a party of all clerics, paladins, and champions, and one of them is a silencer. But the only person who knows that is the player and the GM, and the GM is not telling.
Yeah.
If that sounds like turning the party into a game of werewolf, well, if you're gonna steal from the best.
Well, unless again, if they're all following orthodox gods, then the silencer has no trouble with them.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you flip it, and one of them is not, or is a Beyonder.
Oh gosh, that's when things are likely to start getting bloody.
Oh. So long as I would say so long as nobody knows who it is, but then I remembered, wait, the approach that they may have is let God sort them out.
Yeah.
So they may be the
Oh
type
god.
who
Yeah,
would,
it's just it might just be an excuse of they failed their save, or the fact that it requires a reaction, they didn't have their reaction left.
mm-mm. So you have that situation where one of them might go, well, if some of the people in this village may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it does sound like silencers are a bit hardcore about
Morally
their...
dubious? Oh boy, they are.
Well, I wasn't going to go that far, but since you said it... Oh.
Yeah. The organization that they belong to, the Anaphexia, gets a good deal of attention in this book. There's a pretty sizable write-up about like how they're trained, where they come from, like how you become a member of the organization, and different spots around the world of Galarion that they're headquartered.
Yeah. Oh. In that regard, oh, I am curious, since one could argue there's some overlap, how would, say, silencers and their organization feel about the more standard types of inquisitors?
Honestly, I absolutely do see a lot of overlap there. I I actually specifically made the silencer compatible with the version of the oh gosh, Vindicator. That's what they call it now. I specifically made the two of them compatible, so it would be very possible to be a Vindicator silencer. And
I know that's the term. I'm still going to call it Inquisitor just out of habit.
yeah, honestly, I mean, even the designers are like still use the term Inquisitor in some of the. Yeah, they even say that like Inquisitors are the ones that are vindicators for quote unquote evil churches, which I thought we took out alignment.
Yeah. Oh. No matter how hard you train, you can never turn a left-handed person into a right-handed person. That's the way that I see it.
Yeah. But regarding the regarding Vindicators and Silencers, like you can absolutely be both. Generally, I imagine that a Silencer would probably see a more typical Vindicator as like, oh, this person has a more limited scope in what they're doing, but like their work is still valuable. Like the Church of Pharasma does need help with those pesky undead or something. Meanwhile, I'm here trying to deal with like some massive conspiracy that involves the Church of Pharasma and like some sort of rival being that claims that they also have power over death and proper judgment over souls, and I'm trying to stop them from getting their hands on anything.
Oh yeah, I could certainly get that. Now,
yeah.
With that in mind, you mentioned that this was the first part of a series. What do you have next planned for this particular series?
Well, my plan for this is to focus on different lenses of religion that are all tied to that I've tied to specific pantheons and communities around Galarion. Book 2, which I am a good way into so far, is going to be about what I'm calling disconsolate demigods, which are essentially the non-demon fiendish demigods. Your Sockhill, your Velstrak, your Flipoff, etc. Because I've had a lot of thoughts about them for a long time, but it's also going to cover the Cthulhu mythos.
That'll be...
Paizo did a lot of stuff putting the Cthulhu mythos into Galerion as a major part of the setting, and well, I'm going to be evaluating that and trying to come up with a cohesive story as to what the mythos is in the context of this game.
Mm-hmm. But that'll be interesting to delve into. But with that said, I do want to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come all the way to my monastery and enjoy the madness that happens here.
You are very welcome. I will add that the next book in the series, tentative title, is going to be one of several. I do eventually plan to cover the other things, like the Demon Lords are getting their own book, the Fey Lords, and honestly, I really do hope that Paizo releases details on Casmeron and Arcadia soon, because like, I do want to know, I specifically left the gods of those regions out because I don't have enough information on them yet, and I would really love to cover them as well so I can discuss their involvement with and relationship with the Orthodoxy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I'll certainly keep an eye out for all of that. But, of course, a sincere thanks goes out to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there will be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar on the internet.
Yep.
But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Indeed. Wishing you all a wonderful